Hello, my earthling friends and star people friends, if you happen to catch this video. I'm doing a different type of video today, and yes, I'm doing this indoors because um, it's extremely hot outside. Being in Florida, we've been under extreme heat. And in case you haven't noticed, you can probably hear in the background uh, slightly that there is a lawnmower going. So it would have been too noisy out there. So anyways, that's why I'm doing this indoors. Um, Today's video is actually, I wanted to put out my raw emotion that usually when I make these videos and that I might seem like, oh, I've just got it all together and I'm all just happy, cheer, 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 and that. I got news for you. I'm human. I doubt myself. I have times where I become extremely depressed, especially dealing with contact. As much as all of us wants to have contact, and trust me, I will say I have had a lot of contact. However, I still doubt it at times, and that's okay because we're human and we have human filters and we're dealing with all kinds of stuff here on earth, that's just going on, and it really can affect our moods. Plus, I'm battling Lyme disease, and that doesn't help either, and that can affect my emotions. But the reason also I wanted to make this video is because I know in my last video where I was showing the weird and interesting and fascinating orb that went across, and I was given my story about that. I really, really don't want anyone to think for 1 minute, just because I said that, about being what I've been told from a few different psychics about being a lightning rod or something. I believe that it's just that I'm more open to things. I'm not holding back so much when I make contact, because everybody out there has intuitive abilities. Some people don't want to engage with that at all, and other people aren't really sure, and that's okay because we're all at different stages of learning and understanding, and while get my words out, while I might be, say, with a lot of contact since I was a baby and stuff like that, there's other people who are, go way beyond anything I've ever had, right? Because they're at a different stage with their soul growth. Okay, so that does not mean that somebody who's just starting out, or just and hasn't, or feels like they haven't had any connection, and that does not mean that your role is somehow less important, and that nobody, it's like I keep saying, and what I've been told. Okay, if you take like the human body, okay, and its organs, right? If you have one organ that has shut down or isn't working properly, what happens? The whole body doesn't work, right? And I mean, eventually it can, depending on the organ, I guess, because we can live with things like the gallbladder and stuff, but it has problems, right? So therefore, every part has to work together. And therefore, that means no other part. Say, well, you're like, well, but the heart is the main thing. The heart needs the other parts to all work together. So what I'm trying to say is, like me, I don't have some big role, and that I might have a lot of contact, but I'm pretty much an unknown person for the most part. As you see, my videos, I might get 30 or 40 views, maybe a couple people hit like on it, and that's it. And I'm okay with that, because you know what? I'm doing it because I enjoy it. And what I've been told is the message will get to those who need to, that it needs to. And it doesn't mean that others, they might just not be ready for it. So, but I just want you to know, I wanted to be very raw and honest with you. These last few days have been very tumultuous for me. I've just been like uh, so upset and feeling like, I got upset because even though I have a lot of contact and that, I started thinking negatively. And I was like, thinking, I'm tired of being a lab rat, for the Greys and that. Like, why is it always just negative contact? But Aurora, my good friend who I do the podcast with, pointed out, if they really wanted to harm you, which I have said in other videos, right? But like I said, that doubt comes in. They would have done that. But the fact that when you say to stop or no, they let go, that paralysis, because the paralysis does not feel good. I'm going to tell you that right now. But as I have said before, and I know this, but I went against my own truth, it sometimes is necessary for whatever they're doing or whatever, so that you don't get harmed, or that you don't harm, act out. So harm yourself or whatever. So, that's why these paralysis slash abduction events take place, right? And it is true that not every one of them is going to be good. Every one of them is going to be with love and affection and all that, because unfortunately, I always say that in every race, and I truly believe this, no matter if it's the Greys or the reptilians or whatever, there's good and bad. And you can pretty much feel who's good and who's bad, right, in your gut. But unfortunately, there's a lot of Greys who, I don't think that they're necessarily bad, but they just are like neutral. They have no emotion, so therefore they don't recognize something that is bothersome to who they are. They just, because they don't have that feeling, right? They don't have feelings, so they don't understand. But as much as I hate the sleep paralysis and that, I'm also at the same time honored that, I am making some kind of contact. And I have found that after I've had these contact experiences, that I will find that it's helped my intuitive abilities, believe it or not. So, but I just wanted to put out there, because I am not immune from going through the doubt and the sadness, and I really had to have Aurora help bring me out of it, because it was pretty bad. I actually wrote a poem on this. Now, it's gonna sound kind of dark, okay? This was when I was feeling dark when I wrote this. However, I have been encouraged to show my growth, because this poem actually reflects when I was first, going through these things and feeling like such isolated outsider. I've always felt like a freak with when I was growing up as a little girl, because I felt so completely different from everyone else around me. I saw the world so differently. I was seeing beings and, dealing with demonics and all kinds of things, and who would bully me. This is all going to be, by the way, it's all written in I've just to the editing part now. I've already had the copyright sent off, but my 4th book coming out actually really goes into detail about the different types of experiences I've had. And believe me, I was very reluctant about writing that book because some of it was triggering and brought on some PTSD, but I finally listened to some people, some friends of mine, and they said I really should put a book out about my real life experiences. Not that my trilogy series wasn't semi-fiction in that and based on real experiences, but I put that more in a story format. And the book I've put out is, when we're talking raw, this book that I have coming out is pure raw emotions and what I've gone through with my experiences, and it goes from my early childhood and all the way up into today, into my adulthood. And of course, my book ends with "to be continued" because I've still got more life to live and I'm ready to live it. But let me go ahead and do this poem, read this poem to you. Now, it's going to sound dark, like I said, but I am going to change it, not change it, but I'm going to add to it where you're going to see the growth and the difference. Okay, so this is just when I was really feeling low and down about everything. But it's also going to be, when I put in part 2 of it, it's going to be the transformation. Okay, so here we go. And it's real simple words, so it's nothing, you know. Here we go. It is hard to express when my words fall on deaf ears. I sit in the silence. I sit in my own tears. I feel irrelevant when my words mean so little. Like the white noise, I'm just a whisper in the middle. The world around me feels distant and cold. This human existence, I am feeling so old. I cannot change who I was before, but I can honestly say that I have closed that door. I no longer embrace the dark. It was my weakest lifetime, a huge mistake from the start. I am now walking my truth within this life, but if only I could be heard in a way that feels of love and light. It feels like my presence, I am shunned away, having nothing to offer, nothing of significance I have to display. Yes, that is my dark, heartfelt poem, and I'm going to add to it and write something that is my transformation, and that because I don't want it to stay a dark and negative poem. I don't want to sit there. I don't want to reside in that darker reality. So anyways, I don't want to make this video too long. I do want to say real quick though that I also was assuming that the message that I was getting that came on my phone real strange, because I would, you know, and I made that last video on that. Aurora and I decided to do some more research on it, and something really interesting came up that I had decided to put in the chat GPT. Maybe I was wrong about this. And I said, you know, the thing is that I had never mentioned to chat GPT that I do light language. And I hadn't even thought about that, because ChatGPT came up with a name that was actually a mathematical code. I didn't realize that because I wanted to know what being had come through on my phone, and it gave me the name Calyx, but the H was raised above the rest of the other letters, and it's spelled with a K. And after we Aurora did some research on it for me, and that she said it's actually a mathematical code. And when I put it into ChatGPT, it said yes, and then it kind of dissected it, and one of the things it mentioned was about making that contact through the light language. And I'm like, holy cow, I totally forgot, because when I was at the CE5, I do singing light language. I've been asked to record myself singing light language. I haven't had the courage up to put it out on YouTube, but I'm getting there. You know, I'm a bit shy about that. So, but we'll see. Anyhow, I just want to go ahead now and close this video out, because I don't want it to be something that's going to take up way too much space, and also, you know, with the gigabytes and all that, because I want to get it uploaded today. And I just thank you, everybody, and sending love, sending light, and thank you for listening to my video here. Goodbye, everybody, and blessings. Bye.